it. I need to get some grip tape, gotta get my stick made. Maybe get some pads, play goal, make a 6 save. No pads, and I'll mix them out of thick tape. Yeah, it was kinda ghetto, but we were just kids, eh? If your childhood was like mine was.
Welcome to another Coach Johnny production. In this video, I will cover landmarks that goalie commonly uses on the ice and why. Landmarks are visual cues goalies use to ensure or reaffirm they are in the correct position or as cues for movements. Some also mark out areas of the ice you should not typically wander outside of. If we then combine these landmarks with angle and depth, 2 videos I will be doing soon, we can find it easy to get in the right position to maximize the potential of making saves or saves. Okay, let's go over these landmarks, where they are on the ice and how we use them and what for we use them. Let's go around the ice starting with the center of the net. This landmark centers us in the net for our starting position and also lets us know when to move post to post when another player moves the puck around behind the net. Next we have the NHL Trapezoid area, which dictates stick position when we are hugging our post. Sometimes potential plays will affect this rule of thumb, but for the most part when a player is inside this space, we have our stick position to stop any passes into the front slot area. As the player transitions outside of this zone, we change our stick position back to a more normal place covering our 5-hole. The toe of the stick to the toe of our skate. We can also begin using our stick as a steering wheel again. See my previous video on keys to all movements for more on that. The next one is where the goal line meets the boards as our visual reference. When the puck is below the goal line, we typically have our foot closest to the puck inside the post for a good seal with our pad up tight. When the puck moves above the goal line, I move my foot outside the post, and in most cases I square up to the shooter. This makes it possible to go down and make a save without pushing my body off the post and giving space on the short side. It also should, when done correctly, give a committed shooter next to nothing to shoot at, but it does leave us exposed to a pass in the front slot area, so for some plays you may want to stay on the post till the puck gets past the next landmark. This next landmark marks the upper portion of where we should ever use VH or reverse VH. The bottom of the face-off circle is this such marking. As long as the puck is below this, if we choose to use VH and reverse VH, we're in decent angle and shape for a shot. However, if the puck is higher above this line, it is very rare and unusual and not a good advantage for goalies to be using these 2 positions. But hey, for every rule of thumb there is an exception. So when the puck has moved above this landmark, if we are not square and facing the puck with as much of our body as possible, we will quickly find ourselves at a disadvantage. The following 2 landmarks are very close to each other and nearly indistinguishable, for the most part, as they are a tiny shuffle apart for the goalie playing the correct angle and depth. Where the hash marks meets the boards is our first marker. This one is important because it is typically where players want to set up during the power play, and also a good marker for where a player driving wide will quite often commit to either shooting or making a play. The other mark is the face-off circle for obvious reasons. If we are in position for this one, we are typically set up for a puck drop, but it is also a point at which moving across the ice can give a shooter an advantage due to how far we may have to move and the angle at which we arrive. This is the reason Ovechkin sets up and shoots between this mark and the following one, as here the shooter can gain a large advantage with a good cross-seam pass. Our next visual cue is where the blue line meets the boards. This is typically where most point shots tend to come from. We can also use this imaginary line in a lot of drills when practicing movements and saves. Here we can be at some of our most aggressive depths as the shooter is committed to a shot and with no other possible plays. After that, we start moving towards the center of the ice and use a cue much closer to us. The hash marks at the inside of the face-off circle, more specifically the innermost edge of the hash marks. This is a good line for movement cues when a player cuts across the front of the net, and I'll get more to that a little further into this video. The other reason we use this location on the ice is to mark the edge of what I call the front door of our house. If you were ever taught a defensive strategy in hockey as a kid, quite often your coach may have taught you the protect your house idea. The main premise is this is a high scoring area shaped like a house or a home plate, for those of you that play baseball in the off season. Now your team is trying to protect the house, and the goalie, being the last line of defense, is supposed to be protecting the front door. Now if we, the goalie, leave this front door, it is possible you are now not in the best position for making a play or plays you plan to stop and potential plays that are developing. So imagine our front door as a box covering the area between the two hash marks, innermost edge, all the way to the back of the boards or the goal line. And voila, we have our front door. This is also worth noting that the outside of this box usually reaches about 12 inches outside the edge of our post, or just to the edge of the crease where it meets the goal line. Hence why we can conclude if you are not protecting your front door, you are likely out of position, both for stopping the play, but also as we get into more advanced movements and making plays. Our next major cue before we repeat on the other side is the center ice mark. We can use the face-off dot at center ice or the opponent's net at the far end of the ice. Sometimes you will even find some marks on the ice near or between the ringette line and the hash marks in your end that will help to center yourself. But please be aware, these marks are often put on the ice to help paint the lines and may not always be centered from rink to rink. Thus you should check before you play to see if this is the case or not. Markings can vary slightly rink to rink, and rink shapes can vary too. The last two landmarks we use for visual aids is the crease and ringette crease if your local arena has it painted on the ice. These two are more often used for angle and being square and depth in managing how much we challenge a shot or playing other possible plays. Now all these landmarks are laid out on the ice for you visually, and I have touched briefly on what we use specific ones for and how they can affect save selection or stick select position or depth. Now in general we use all these marks as cues on where to line up to and where we should move to or close to for the next landmark directed towards the puck. We also can use them as starting or movement positions when practicing movements on our own, and off these cues we can simulate most game situations when practicing. For example, if a player is cutting across the ice in a flat line and we wish to be able to make the best save, we should try and be in proper position and set for as long as possible. The first rule we use here is our frame of body. Whenever the puck is moving cross ice, we want it to lead us. This eliminates the possibility of the puck being shot against the flow and ensures that all our saves should be exploding into the movement. So we try and wait until the puck is outside our shoulder frame before moving it to center it in the center of our chest. In the reality of the movement, the puck should always remain slightly ahead of our center line when we arrive, thus ensuring we only have to commit to making a save in one direction. This allows us to think less and be more focused on the save and the puck. Like a computer with RAM, the less apps or options we have to run, the more resources we have to commit to the present task, thus running faster. Now to tie this in with our landmarks. If we adhere to this rule of movement, almost always we will find you only having to move when the puck is halfway between any one of these given landmarks. As you move to center yourself with the puck again, you should almost naturally find yourself on the next landmark's imaginary line. The biggest thing I can think to stress at this point is the move is not as big as most think it is. Watch any NHL goalie and very rarely do you see them make any large movements. Line to line is usually a 12-inch shuffle at best, if you are inside or at the top of your crease. It is a small movement when you execute it after practicing a few times. You will quickly see how it can be easy to lose your net due to over moving. Now if you couple these landmarks tips with the angle and depth video I will be following up with, you can hopefully find yourself in proper position more often than not to make the right play. As you improve at finding these landmarks, I hope you will find it easier to make good saves, but also to practice realistic game situations without actually being in a game. So we have the center of the net for centering ourselves for our starting position and when to go post to post. The NHL Trapezoid for dictating stick position. The goal line at the boards for controlling our foot on or off the post. The bottom of the face-off circle marking the highest point at which one may choose to be VH or reverse VH. The hash marks on the boards is the pass or shoot decision zone. Face-off dot for the puck drop and penalty kill shots. The blue line at the board showing where most of the point shots start from. Our inner hash marks marking the edge of the front door and the edges of your crease or posts. And finally the center ice markings to give us reference and center our plays and starting position. This has been another Coach Johnny production, brought to you in part by collaboration with Andre Lepuck at AndreLepuck.com and Ben Yorkie at Ben_Yorkie22 on Instagram. Other honorable mentions are to Pavel Barber, who you will find on YouTube, and at Instagram at HeyBarber. And Dougie Rose for some coaching and ice time. Thank you very much for your help, guys. As always, I hope you found this video helpful, easy to understand, and useful. If you did, please feel free to like and share or subscribe if you haven't already. I will try and get more content up soon, but I am not filming right now due to some long-term injuries. Stay tuned for more, though. Have fun out there and remember to smile and laugh. Love of the game will take you farther than anything else.
Gotta get my stick made, maybe get some pads, play goal, make a sick save. No pads and I'll mix them out of thick cape. Yeah, it was kinda ghetto, but we were just kids, eh? If your childhood was like mine was, when that song comes on, you still get that buzz. And you know what to do, it doesn't matter where you was. Get the beer, get the chips, and just turn it on up. So get the beer, bring the chips over here, bring the dip. I hear the Hockey Night song playing, score goals.